connecting with our bodies, right? I find a lot of our professional world is biased towards the content and the cerebral, and the body just gets left behind. So in your opinion, like, what are some of the biggest barriers to people being connected to their bodies in today's world of work?
So it's interesting. I think there's multiple parts to it, but the first one is I feel like the lack of knowledge, awareness, and skills to do that, because we grow up, like, even if you think about it, growing up in school, if you were not an athlete, if you were not a dancer, if you didn't have any physical activities in your life, you don't learn that skill. Like,
Yeah.
no one tells you you need to be in tune with your body. No one tells you this is important. And I realize that technical people are skeptical about it because they think this is very like artsy or like very spiritual kind of thinking. So it takes a lot. Yeah, it's not. They're not used to it
Sure.
because um it is not it's not how they think. Like, it's a lot of the technical
Yeah.
stuff when you're working technically a lot. This is a completely different set of skills that you're using
Hmm.
that you're not used to. And you need to kind of also, when it comes to the body, experiment. So you need to be the kind of person who's willing to trust that. So develop that trust of like, what does it look like if I do this? Or what does it look like if I do that? Because you can't do 1 + 1, it's equal to. It doesn't work that way.
Mm.
So it's a lack of skill, a lack of awareness, and a bit of lack of trust in
Mm.
that feeling. And the last part, which is a bit also important, is connecting to our bodies, being connected to our feelings, being connected to difficult things. You
Mm.
cannot decide what to be connected to. And some people may not be, I wouldn't say ready, but may not want to be doing that. They may be more dissociating sometime or numbing. So it takes a lot of like trauma awareness, or maybe just simply understanding of what it's like for people to start slowly going into this world rather than just kind of like rushing into it.
Totally. Yeah, I think you bring up a really important point with this kind of work, that I experienced pretty early on when I started, working with people in embodiment and communication and all that. Is the body, the book, right? The body keeps the score. Like, whether we like it or not, our bodies store memory and information and, sensory data. And the body's going to do that anyways. Whether you're attuned to it or aware of it is another thing, right? And that's what you can kind of work to develop. But if you're not careful, and if you're not approaching it with a guide or a coach or a facilitator, I think sometimes you can touch on things that you didn't even know were there, right? And whether it's something as serious as trauma or just something that completely shocks you, it can be a pretty like powerful experience. So I think you're right that like you want to approach this in a sustainable and supported way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
It's important, but a tricky area to go into unprepared.
totally. Absolutely. So that's why I just think like I always think it bears mentioning that with this work, that like you can't just like fly into it and or start coaching in this space without
Oh
like
yeah.
understanding what you're dealing with. So that's really great.